I'm back, baby. And so is the C10. And so is a brand new Finnegan's Garage shirt. And best of all, I'm going to be finally mounting that badass blown LT4 engine and 6-speed manual gearbox in my truck. And I'm going to be doing it using this brand new Miller Electric Multimatic 215 multi-process welder. This is a 38-pound MIG machine, a TIG machine, and a stick welder all in one. It runs off 220 or 110. It's amazing. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I'm going to give you details on how you can literally win Finn's tools. Miller Electric and I are going to give this thing away to somebody who makes an amazing comment on this video. All right? Let's do this. Remember my C10? This is the 67 truck that I bought back last summer from a buddy of mine. The one that my friends and I built way back in like 2008 with a Ford Expedition 8.8 inch center section IRS. And a whole lot of custom fab work. With air suspension, this thing cycles 14 inches of travel. Not all of it usable, but it does do it. Alright, here's the driver's side frame rail. I'm going to use that as a reference point for my angles. Put my digital angle finder on here. Zero it out, which you can see right there. And this will be the basis for my measurements for setting up my driveline angle. Now over here is the input flange of the rear differential. I'm going to measure that. And that angle right there, 87.4 degrees, so it's about 2.6 degrees up. What am I going to do with that number? I'm going to go set up new transmission and engine mounts, pointing the transmission at equal and opposite angles. So I'm going to set the transmission output angle at 2.6 degrees down. And that will keep the U-joints at approximately the same angle on different planes so that hopefully they rotate at the same speed. As long as they rotate at the same speed or close to it, there should be no driveline shake. Why am I doing this since this truck was already built? Well, originally this truck had a 4L65E automatic overdrive transmission. At some point after I sold it, the transmission mounts were changed, and this thing ended up with a Tremec TKO 5-speed. I now have a Tremec Magnum 6-speed from Chevrolet Performance, and those mounts will have to get changed once again, and then I'll have to re-verify all the angles as I build motor mounts. It's actually not that complicated. It's kind of fun to do. One of the side benefits of having Miller here on this episode is that I finally got proper safety gear. Which means I get to live a little longer than I normally would. I got new gloves, 2 layers of safety on the face. Apparently my dome has gotten bigger because I gotta expand this a little. Okay, so the old trans was a 5-speed Tremec TKO. The new trans is a Super Magnum or Magnum 6-speed, and the back end of this is physically different, and it needs to come up higher, but it hits the floor right here. So sadly, I'm going to have to modify this really nice transmission tunnel cover that Scott's Hot Rods built for me, and it is what it is. It's got to be done. So, death wheel time. That can come up a little bit higher now. Question is it enough? I don't think it is. But let's jack it up and find out anyway. There she is. With the help of a couple of floor jacks and my cherry picker, that is the LT4's final resting place. She's within 0.2 of a degree of level. The tail shaft of the transmission is 19 inches up off the ground. And the input of the differential is 20 inches off the ground, making sure the driveline is not directly straight. So that's what you don't want. You don't want a driveline and its U-joints to be perfectly straight. Otherwise what happens is everything doesn't rotate like it should, and the needles inside of those U-joints do not lubricate, do not spin, and do not last. Well, it's a bummer that we had to cut the floor of the truck up a little bit, and that bitchin' transmission tunnel cover. But I'm happy that the old transmission mount is close to where it needed to go, so I can just cut the flanges off the end of it here, fab some new ones, weld it together, and bolt the trans in, and then I can build the motor mounts. This is the old removable transmission cross member. And it's a really nice piece, but because I'm changing transmissions, these two plates right here are no longer in the right spot. This cross member actually sits 7/8 of an inch lower than it used to, which means these holes are now in the wrong place. So, we got some 1/8 inch hot rolled steel plate here. I've traced out the old mounts. Found the center of the mounting hole. Measured up 7/8 of an inch. Drew a line. Marked new holes. I'll drill those, cut those out. Cut these plates off of this bar, well, the new one's on there using the new Multimatic 215. And then bolt that bad boy back in. And once the trans is bolted in, then I can finalize the engine mounts. The transmission crossmember is cleaned up, ready to weld. There is a gap though between the mounting plates and the crossmember. What I'm going to do though is sleeve it with this larger tubing. Unfortunately, it's powder coated black because this actually came from my 55 Chevy Bel Air, blasphemy, and so I'm going to have to get the powder coating off before I can cut this, weld this on here, and then weld this to the brackets. This is a powder-coated cross member from the Jim Meyer Racing gasser chassis under my 55 Chevy Bel Air. Can't weld that right now, powder-coated. This is 118 octane Rocket brand racing fuel. Run this in my drag boat. I have heard that racing fuel will take off powder coating. And this is the washcloth out of my wife's bathroom. She's not home. Nothing's happening so far. All right, Jeff Conrad, haha, very funny. This did nothing. Maybe if I soak it in race gas. Just let that sit in there a little while, maybe. I should probably not put this in the laundry. Powder coat, Scotch-Brite. All I'm succeeding in doing is scratching it. This is my last resort. I'm going to polish the powder coat off of it. Buffing wheel worked pretty good. Let's use a little Scotch-Brite now. Luckily, the inside of it wasn't powder coated, so I don't have a lot of contamination on the backside of the weld there. This should work pretty good. Why didn't I use a fresh piece of tubing? Because I don't live anywhere near a steel supply place, and I didn't have a fresh piece. Besides, it's kind of fun to recycle stuff from other projects. Waste not, want not. Not bad, right? Scotch-Brite the inside of it. We've sanded down each end so they're flat. We'll slide this on our cross member, mock it back up in the car, mark our end plates, and then finally, we get to use that new welder. The drop-down brackets are bolted in place. As you can see, there's a gap where the tubing meets the drop-down bracket, and that's because after we cut the old brackets off, we lost some of the materials. There's a gap there, so I'm just gonna sleeve it right there, and it'll get welded there, and then I'll go back in here and cut the excess off and make the bracket look cool. This is most of what you get when you buy or win the Multimatic 215. Not present is the regulator, because that's already been installed on my gas bottle. You get the M100 gun, which with this welder will use flux core wire or solid wire with shielding gas. Beefy ground cable right there. That's going to last a while. Here is your stick welding clamp. I don't really have a use for stick welding at this point right now in my life, but good to know it's there. Comes with instructions, comes with a metal thickness gauge, which is handy in case you're ever wondering how thick or thin the metal is you're working with. Even comes with a spool of Hobart wire, which is kind of nice. A couple of tips. You'll want to buy more of these. Especially if you're learning to weld, you want to buy more of those. And that's basically it. If you win or buy one of these, you'll need a bottle, like this one here. I'm going to be doing MIG welding today, so this one is a 75% argon, 25% CO2 mix. There's our regulator that came with the welder. And even though it's light and very portable, it's going to spend most of its time in the garage here, so I went and got a cart. Now the basic setup for the Multimatic 215 is ready to stick weld and ready to MIG weld. But if you want to TIG weld with this machine, there is an accessory kit you'll need to get, and this is what comes in it. You'll get a different regulator with a bigger orifice on the outlet side. and a larger diameter hose, and this is so you can flow way more argon than you could with the smaller hose that comes with the basic kit. You're going to get a TIG torch, you're going to get some consumables, and you're going to get a foot pedal control. So the basic setup goes for about $1,449 retail. And the package with everything, so that you can TIG, MIG, or stick weld, is about $1,809 retail. But right now, and running until June 30th, 2017, if you go to millerwelds.com/buildwithblue, you can actually save $100 on all this stuff. They've got an excellent promotion right now, so you can save some dough when you step up to this or one of their other machines. They've got a bunch of stuff on sale right now. I didn't bother to read the instructions because I was looking at the control panel here and I thought, well, this looks really, really simple. You know, push an arrow. Now we're ready to go for stainless. We got flux core wire, no shielding gas. You know. Do we want to MIG weld aluminum with a spool gun? We want a TIG weld. I mean, that's pretty simple. Right now I'm going to MIG weld. We'll go C25. When you come over here, yeah, look at that. This is simple. Change the thickness of your wire. I've got 030 in there. Material thickness. I'm going to be welding 125 wall tubing. There you go. And it automatically sets the volts and the wire speed. There's another setting on this, I think, where you can tweak this. Yeah, see? It automatically sets it, but you can tweak it if you want to move it around a little bit. Wire speed, voltage. Or you can just rely on the machine. Dude, that's cool. Alright, I'm not going to wait anymore. I want to see how it welds. I like the way it starts. It starts smooth. Like it doesn't spit back at you when it starts up. It's kind of nice. It's in there. Transmission is now locked in place, and it's time to build engine mounts. There's the mounting pads for the LT4 right there. They're real close to my original motor mounts, so I'll be able to build new ones and reuse the frame mounts that I had. And the exhaust is close. I'm going to try a couple different sets of headers and manifolds. I may only have to just rebuild the downpipes there, which will save a whole bunch of time. These pieces will turn into the other half of our engine mount. It's a couple of bushings, an outer and an inner sleeve. Bought this stuff from thorbros.com, really reasonably priced, and it's one of the few places you can go to actually buy parts to make your own 4-link bushings, engine mounts, bars, all that stuff. The way this works is these bushings will slide in here. This will slide through the middle. That sleeve will house a 1/2-inch diameter bolt. We'll weld 2 tabs to this. That will go to our sandwich plate. That will lock the motor in place. I'm not sure if I ordered Delrin or not. These are pretty hard. They're not rubber. They're definitely not rubber, but I don't remember if I ordered Delrin or not. But anyway, good stuff, reasonably priced. And if you need something like that, thorbros.com. They got you covered. We're getting close. I've got a plate bolted to each side of the engine block. There's the original engine mount that used to hold an LS2 in this chassis. And we're going to adapt it to our LT4. there's the assembled bushing that I got from thorbros.com. All I gotta do now is make some templates to bridge from here to here and here to here. And I think I'm gonna TIG weld this time because I haven't gotten a TIG weld yet with that new welder. And that will be that. Once that's done, engine and trans are locked in place and start on other tasks. I used a hole saw to bore a hole through this plate, and that's so that my tabs that'll go from the engine block side out to the frame side will wrap all the way around this tube. And that'll make this much stronger than if I had just a half moon tab that came up from the back side here and was welded from here to here and that connected to the engine block side. Alright, hopefully you guys can see well enough in there. There's our gusset plate, and it looks like this is going to fit just fine. So I'll go ahead and build another one for the right side, mark everything, trim it, make it look all nice, and then get to TIG welding. There she is. Done. Go mock it up one more time in the truck, and then take the motor plate off, bring it over here, and TIG weld this thing together. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see how well the Multimatic 215 TIG welds. That's my new motor mount. I've got the machine on auto set. I've got my material thickness at 1/8 of an inch. I'm actually going to turn that up because that plate is 3/16 of an inch, while these plates are 1/8 of an inch, and that thing is 3/16 of an inch. So we'll put it on 3/16, and it just bumped up the output automatically from 125 amps to 137. I'm using a 3/32 tungsten, a 3/32 rod. We are flowing about 18 cubic feet per hour of argon, and this should work. Let's see. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. I'm using the lift arc method, where you set the tungsten on the workpiece, push down on the control pedal, and the moment you lift up, the arc strikes. That is cool. It's a killer way to start welding if you're a beginner, because 90% of TIG welding is having a steady hand and maintaining a precise distance between the tungsten and your workpiece. And if you're constantly moving up and down closer and further away from it, your arc's going to wander all over the place, your weld won't penetrate, it'll look horrible. So with this method, you're literally placing the tungsten down on what you're about to weld, pushing down on the pedal, and lifting up. It's called the lift arc method, and it's cool. It welds good. I like it. It's very smooth. Ooh. Did you hear the fan? Dude. Okay, I'm hooked. I'm welding at like 135 amps right now, and I'm on a 220 volt source. This thing at 190 amps has about a 20% duty cycle, and right now at 137 amps I'm probably closer to 30% duty cycle, which means I can weld for 2 to 3 minutes continuously, and then I need to stop and let it cool for 7 to 8 minutes. But it has an automatic fan, so if I go too far and screw that up, it's just going to stop me from hurting it. It's too easy, man. MIG welder, TIG welder, stick welder, digital, it thinks for you. Gone are the days of struggling to figure out what voltage, what amperage, what wire speed you need to have. No more just turning knobs blindly and going, why am I making popcorn here? This thing's cool, man. If you need one machine to do a bunch of jobs in your garage, this is a solid choice. There we go. This thing is solid. And I dig the welder, man. I really do. I'm stoked for you guys. Somebody's going to win this thing. And I can honestly say, she welds. You know? And I am not a great welder. I don't weld every day. It's been weeks since I picked up a TIG torch. But it's so easy to use because it does a lot of the thinking for you. I dig it. And I'm stoked that one of you guys is going to win this thing. I'm going to let it cool off, build the other mount, press the bushings in, bolt it to the motor, and we're done. Well, look at what we got here. Motor mounts are done. Other than a little trimming here in the corners to make it pretty, she is in there. She is solid. Shh. It's like freaking midnight. I can't make any more noise. The kids, my wife, they're all sleeping upstairs right now. But look at that. Cherry picker gone. My LT4, my Chevrolet Performance 6-speed manual gearbox are now permanently attached to my C10 chassis, which means I can move on with this project and get some other things done and get one step closer to getting this thing out of my garage and out on the road. Now, this is what you've all been waiting for, I know. How do you win that amazing 230 amp capable Miller Electric Multimatic 215 multi-process welder? It's a mouthful, I know, but it does a lot, and I am genuinely impressed with this thing, and I cannot wait for somebody to win this. Here's how it works. Do me this kindness. Subscribe to my channel, then go to Miller Electric's channel and subscribe to their channel. Doing that will enable me to get more product to give to you guys. And ultimately, that's what I want to do. I want to give away as much stuff as I can so that you guys can get wrenching in your own garages, so that you guys can get your projects out on the road. And here's how you win. Comment below. Tell me exactly what's sitting in your garage, why you need the welder, and how excited you're going to be to get working on that project again. I want to know what's burning in your soul about this car, why you need it in your life, and why you need it out of the garage and out on the highway. My most inspiring comment is going to win that Miller welder. All right? And if you have any other questions, check out the description of this video. That gives you all the information about the contest, including when it ends.